Welcome to Allies or Enemies. I am Sean.
And I am Jess, and today we are going to be sharing our top 10 games that have been published in 2021.
And it's important, we're not saying that this is like objectively the top 10 games of the year. This isn't like board game scientists haven't got together.
Board game scientists with all their stats. And
and like done the math on this. This is our favorite games of 2021, the ones we had the most fun playing. And this is a combined list.
Yeah, so what we did is we both separately ranked them all, and then we gave an average score to put it in our top 10 list. But hopefully we'll be able to show you my score and Sean's score at the same time, so you can see our small differences that we may have had.
And there are some big differences too, and we should actually start with some honorable mentions, because most of our top 10 stayed within like the combined top 10, but we had a few that didn't. And a big one for me that was actually number 5 on my list and not even on Jess's list at all is Seven Wonders Architects. And part of the reason that was just on my list is we don't own it. So I've just been playing it a ton on Board Game Arena. And if you haven't played it, super fun. It's just like a far quicker, easier version of Seven Wonders. And it's very fast. It works really well at like 3 or 4 players. And you can play a game in like 15 minutes. And there's just a lot to it with a nice simple system. So hopefully we will get it at some point and then I can win Jess over.
It's great. I've played it only a couple times, which is why I didn't put it on, because I wanted to make sure all the games that we've had on our list we've played at least a few times. And that's the only reason probably why it's not on my list.
I think everything else we've played like 5 times minimum.
Yeah, exactly. And for mine, my number 10, so it was the last one on my list, but it squeaked out of that for yours, is Explorers, which is just a really fun roll and write designed by Phil Walker Harding. And you cross off boxes for different terrains to try and collect keys and explore temples. And it's so interchangeable with all the different combinations that you can make.
Yeah, it's a great game. I think it was 11 on my list. Like it just didn't make it, but there are 3 strong Phil Walker Hardings this year, and one of them did make the list, and maybe that's what kind of bumped it out. I won't tell you which one. We'll just tell you when we get to it.
So should we jump right into it then?
Yeah, I guess let's. And we're going to be kind of jumping back and forth, but it's going to be kind of the person who liked that game a little bit more is gonna start off. And I think the first one was, I had this one a little bit higher, but our combined number 10 is Welcome to the Moon. And Welcome to is a game that we loved. We've played that so many times by now.
Yeah, it's our favorite roll and write is the original Welcome to.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And then they made Welcome to New Las Vegas, and that they tried to throw a bit too much into that. It didn't quite work for us. And then this one, I think, really nailed how you do a sequel. So it's got kind of a campaign to it. And it is, do I have it straight? Oh, I do have it straight. Great. I have the box. This is going to drive me crazy because I need the front and the back to line up, and it doesn't right now.
Oh, no.
And I don't know how that happened. But it is I fixed this. It's a campaign game, and it's got 8 different games in it. And it's really cool because they all have kind of the same general premise, but they all play a little bit different. But it's nice because none of them have so much like New Las Vegas do, but they all just add like a little wrench each time to make it interesting.
Yeah, it was really surprising, actually. I think I had pretty low expectations for it, and it really did blow us away. And it does that same card system for Welcome to, if you're not familiar with it. So 3 cards get flipped, you pick a number, and you pick an action for it. So it does that, but for each of the 8 maps, it's all a little bit different. And it's not like learning a new game completely each time because the differences are so small. And it's amazing that they threw it all into this box. They didn't like save any for future expansions. They kind of just gave it all to us, which is great.
They could have done half as much and I would have been happy. Like they could have done 4 of the 8 and I would have been thrilled with it. But doing 8 of them, it's like, guys, it's like you're giving us too much.
Yeah.
But we appreciate it. And that is our number 10.
So our number 9 is...
Oh yeah, it's a big boy.
Yeah. Sleeping Gods. So Sleeping Gods is by Ryan Lockett, who does the art and the story and the mechanics of the game. And we're really big fans. We really like Near and Far. And for this one, it is a cooperative game campaign. This is more like a choose your own adventure. And so you are thrown into this world, and it has some amazing world building. And you follow clues as you go through the map, which is all in the book. So you can choose to go any direction you want. And then as you're following the clues, you stumble across things that you weren't expecting. And it's just delightful. I love world building. I love that kind of like D&D type of feeling it has to it in terms of like encountering new things and having to fight some stuff. And it's gorgeous. It looks so nice.
And I think this was higher. Well, I know this was higher on your list than my list. And it's really just because I'm not that big in this sort of game. Like when I play video games, I just play stuff that is going to take me 20 minutes or less. And for board games, well, it's a bit more than that, more like an hour. But anything that's like a huge, like an expensive RPG, that's just never really grabbed my interest. So like this is one of those ones where like board game scientists would say, this is excellent. It's clearly an excellent made game. I'm just not quite the audience for it.
Yeah, I could play it continuously for a week, I think. But I really like it when we get it out and play it. So that's our number 9. So our number 8 over here is this one. So this is Llama Land. So it's by one of our favorite designers, Phil Walker Harding. It is basically a combination of Gingerbread House and Barren Park, if you played either of his 2 other games. And we love Barren Park.
2 of his like 8 billion other games.
That's true. He has a lot of games.
Yeah, it's not just 2 other games.
Yes. So it's tile placement. You have all of these polyomino shapes that you put on, and then as you cover tiles, that gives you certain resources, and you trade in those resources for llamas. And I love that it uses llama meeples. I love animal meeples and getting to put it out. And anything that you're building throughout and left with something at the end is a huge plus for me.
It's one of the coolest things that you're left with at the end. And I didn't even notice on the back it actually says designer of Barren Park and Gingerbread House, which I didn't notice before we had said, because it's got that gingerbread house feel of building up. And it's got the Barren Park feel of when you put things on the tiles, then you get other things based on what you put it on. And I still do like Barren Park a little bit more, but I put this probably above Gingerbread House, kind of in the middle of the 2. But this one definitely, it's got that 3D-ness, like you're saying, and you're left with the coolest. I think the thing you're left with at the end is the coolest of the 3. It's something you kind of want to take a photo of your Llama Land every time after you're done playing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a bit heavier than the other 2 as well, which is nice to have that in the mix. So kind of Gingerbread House is lightest than Barren Park, and then this one.
Yeah, it's not like heavy. It's just, it may be a tiny bit heavier.
Yeah. And so that was our number 8.
Oh, our number 7 is this guy, Rise of Korra. Or I have the box here. Korra, Rise of an Empire. I think, is that the second Avatar? Is it called Rise of Korra?
And it's called the Legend of
Korra. This has nothing to do with that Korra.
No.
Totally separate Korra. You're going up different tracks. And it feels a little bit like a roll and write, in which you're neither rolling nor writing, to me, a little bit. Because you are kind of comboing and you're slowly moving up the different tracks. Oh yeah, you are rolling. So you're just not writing.
Yeah, you roll a couple dice each time, and those dice pip values let you know what actions that you can do.
Yeah, which is maybe the trickiest part of the game. And I think I was worried about that at first because I'm notoriously a terrible roller. But there's so many ways to mitigate it that you barely notice it, honestly. And it's a pretty simple system. Like, it's fairly bare bones to what you're doing. And you're making a selection of 2 out of 6 out of 6 actions, and then you're using those to build your empire, to build your military, which can get you little like tokens that then help you build more cards, and then the cards get you other bonuses. So you're kind of comboing different things, and just trying to get points in different ways.
Yeah, and it's asymmetric too. So your different is it Greek empires?
Yeah.
So
It's
you're
all ancient
different
Greece.
Greek empires, so each of them have different strengths. So we love asymmetry, and that was a huge plus for it. And it is one that does seem pretty simple on the surface, but I feel like our score's been getting better and better the more we play it as we figure it out.
Yeah, and it's a cool theme too. Like the theme definitely isn't intrinsic to it. It could be anything, but I like the theme. I like that it's different ancient Greek cities. So I'm interested in that sort of thing. So so I was already kind of drawn to it, and it looks great.
They did a really good job with production. It looks wonderful.
Yeah, really nice. I like anything with the double layer boards.
Yeah.
And they do them well here. So that is our number 7.
This is our number 6 is Meadow.
Meadow.
Meadow, yes. And so it's gorgeous. It uses all of these cards that go out, and then you have tokens that you put out to determine how far in on the columns or rows that you can take those cards. And you're building your tableau, and you're building it out based on the features of those cards. And so you start with your forest floor, and then to your forest floor you might add trees or berries, and it actually is kind of like scientifically accurate in that sense. And then because the animals will only go on top of kind of other things that they might eat, so you're looking to what cards to build out, and then how to get the cards that you need that can go on top to try and really get kind of all the levels of the ecosystem in play to maximize your points.
And it's got the great system of each turn you put out a little token on the side of the board, and then that says which card you're taking. So you can kind of block off cards, and there's like a little extra strategy between that and the campfire board and the cards that you're putting down. There's kind of a few levels of strategy, and then the art is just beautiful. Like the cards look amazing.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones that you are, again, left with something pretty awesome at the end. So I love that tableau building element to it.
So that was number 6.
Our number 5 is Red Rising. And so this is designed by Jamie Stegmaier and Alexander Schmidt. And when we got this game, I had never heard of the book that it's based on. And I think one of the reasons why I love this game so much is because I really love the book. So it introduced me to that whole world. The first book is fantastic. And then the game itself uses the characters from the book. So I love having my hand of cards and seeing who likes to be matched up with each other and try to maximize it. In terms of how the game is played, you've got cards out that are just in different columns. And then you always have to put a card down to do an action and then pick a card up into your hand. Then you're hoping to find the right combinations of cards left in your hand to get the most amount of points.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting because you have to play cards, but then the cards in your hand score you the points at the end. So you want the perfect 7 to score you the most points, but you also need to be able to play those sometimes to get things. So it's this whole just kind of figuring out, it's not quite risk reward, but you're figuring out the best way to use each card. They're all kind of used for 2 different things, which is interesting. And yeah, in the books, I love the first one. I'm not going to say a lot about the other ones, but the first book is terrific. The first 3 are pretty good, and the 4th one, just pretend it's a trilogy. First 3 are terrific, and it's a beautiful game. It looks great. I do think if we would have played it without the books, we'd be like, yeah, it's pretty good. But I think with the books and with that tie into the theme, it really bumps it up that other level.
Yeah, but we have fun playing it, and it plays in, for us with 2 players, it plays in under 30 minutes. So it's a nice kind of like quick game where you can just try and maximize your hand, that if it doesn't go your way one game, you can easily just like reset and play again.
Yep, and I heard everything fall down when we picked this up, so I'm going to put it carefully. You have to store it upside down when it's on its side. That's one of the trickies with there we go. And that brings us to number 4. And number 4 is a pretty big boy. Number 4 is Merchant's Cove. And Merchant's Cove, I love asymmetry. Asymmetry is like the number one thing that sells me on pretty much any game. And this is maybe the most asymmetrical game that I have ever played. It's like the 4 characters that come in the box. You've got dice manipulation, one that's kind of like a potion explosion-y, like a marble resource thing. You've got one where you've got 2 characters and you've got kind of total control where you're moving. You can only move them so far around the board. So that one is it's a lot more kind of thinky, worker placement-y kind of like
Yeah.
puzzle one. And then you've got one that's a lot more random. That's kind of the total opposite end of that spectrum, where you're spinning a spinner and
As
where
a
it falls.
pirate captain, yeah.
Yeah, as a pirate captain. It's all got this great theme of kind of a piratey thing, and everyone's kind of tied into that, and they're just trying to sell their goods. And then the expansion ones as well. There's a roll and write one. We've got 2 more coming. We just got this the week before Christmas, and we've already played it oodles of times because I cannot get enough of this game. I love the look. I love the style. I love the asymmetry. Everything about this. This is like the shiniest game on our shelf for me right now.
It was funny because you loved it from the first time that we played it. And I've liked it more and more each time I played it. And I think part of that is because the factions do play so differently. And so the first couple I played with are actually probably now looking back maybe my least favorite too. And so it's more fun if what you're doing on your board is enjoyable obviously as well, because that's such a big part. And then there's the whole communal board with the goods that you're selling to everybody. But I think what recently really brought this up in my opinion too is that expansion and getting the Oracle, who's really great. And I am really looking forward to playing it with the 2 new ones that are coming.
Yeah, you can tell because I started playing with the Alchemist and the Chronomancer, I think. And I was like, this might be my favorite game. I love this game. And then I played with the other 2 and I was like, oh, it kind of fell a bit for me and it went up a bit for you based on those characters.
Yeah.
But the asymmetry is... Like, I love that there's the range of characters.
Yeah, that everyone is playing completely different mechanics. It's pretty cool.
But
they made
still
that work.
the same game. Like, there's still something... Because there's still the people coming to buy your goods that you're doing shared. And there's enough shared. It's so clever. So that is our number 4. Oh. So here we go. Number 3 is Dinosaur World.
It takes up a lot of table space. It's not only a big boy in terms of the box, but this is, I think, the game that takes up the most amount of tables for 2 players that we have.
We've got a big table here, and I don't think we could play this with 4 players.
Yeah, I don't know how we would. But the game itself is really great. If you're familiar with Dinosaur Island, it takes a lot of those very similar mechanics in terms of the DNA that you're collecting to make your dinosaurs. But instead of just putting some dinosaurs out on a little board, you're doing much more than that. They've gone bigger. They made it a world.
Yeah, it feels like to me, like Dinosaur Island is like one of those kind of crappy zoos in like the 80s where all of the animals, it's just animals and they're just all sandwiched together. And Dinosaur World is one of those big like conservation like San Diego zoos where you're driving through habitats. And whatnot,
or even like Disney World, because you can have way more than just dinosaurs for it. The extra kind of level that it added to it was taking your attractions that you're putting it out, and then the final phase now is you have your Jeeple, so your Jeep Meeple that you have to drive through and visit the attractions, and then the more often that you pass through an attraction that you've driven by on previous turns, the more bored the people are, so the less kind of excitement levels you get, which is an interesting mechanic.
These jaded people.
Yeah.
Like, you've got dinosaurs. You've got like paddocks filled with dinosaurs, and they're like, yeah, we've seen them.
Yeah, I used to have like a T-Rex jet skiing.
Yeah.
And apparently they even get bored of that. I don't know what's to get bored about that.
There are a lot of fun in the other, because there's the dinosaur ones, but you kind of have like maybe 1 dinosaur to every 2 or 3 of the other areas as well that have like roller coasters and just a bunch of like fun silly things and a bunch of sciencey things too, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, it's really great. I love theme parks. I also love the science element. It's a lot heavier, I would say, than Dinosaur Island.
It ups it.
Yeah, there's sometimes like just picking what people you want. You really have to think ahead. But I like that it's still at a good level for me in terms of how heavy it is, and it's a great fun game to play.
Yeah, no, it's excellent. So that brings us to number 2.
All right, number 2 is Cascadia. So Cascadia is another tile placement game, and this one you are building out your different terrains. It takes place, I believe, in the Pacific Northwest. which is from both from where we're from.
Well, not quite where I'm from.
Oh, Calgary doesn't count as
No,
Northwest?
Calgary's a little, Calgary's its own, it's like prairies.
Oh, okay. Well, you're
Prairie
close to the
land.
Rocky Mountains. You're like
That's
2 hours away.
true. We can drive to the Pacific Northwest easily, but
Well,
we are
I
very
grew
flat.
up in the Pacific Northwest, so it reminds me of home. And it's pretty simple. You just pick a tile and an animal each turn. You put it on. You put your animal on an icon that matches it. And then each of the different animals have different scoring conditions, and there's a selection of them, so you can have different ones for each game that you're playing. So you want to maybe have a group of bears and a run of salmon, and I love that quick kind of play, each taking a turn. You can get a little bit stuck sometimes, but there's only so many things that you can do. And then you're trying to group similar territories. It looks great. It plays fun. Yeah, I really, really like Cascadia.
Yeah, the look is great. The look reminds me of Parks. The gameplay doesn't remind me anything of Parks, but it's got that same... Parks had this wood that I love, this like soft, beautiful wood. And this has the same sort of wood, but with these... with the pictures on them. I don't know if it's just stickers or if it's like heat transferred or whatever, but it looks so beautiful. And Beth Sobel did the art, and we always love Beth Sobel's art. She's one of our favorite designers in any game, or illustrators in any game. And yeah, the play of it's so fast, and there are definitely some a little thinkier decisions in it, but not too much. And I think even for people with AP, they're gonna go pretty quick with it.
Yeah, this is one that I could play again and again, and even if I lose, I still have an enjoyable experience. And again, you're left with something really cool at the end.
Even if you lose, you still win.
So that's number 2.
One left, and our number 1 is Hadrian's Wall. And we love roll and writes. We actually did a thing over the last couple of days where we played every roll and write we have, which is like 24 roll and writes, and it took us like a full day and a bit to play through them. And this is our number 1 roll and write, and this is our number 1 game for 2021 because it takes roll and write. It's interesting because roll and write has always been, I've thought of as like that real quick thing. Doesn't take up a lot of space. You can take to like the camper. I always think of it with camping, and you can play it really fast. Hadrian's Wall is not that. Hadrian's Wall is like using roll and write to replace what would have had to be an enormously expensive, giantly produced thing. It's like taking this big idea and using paper and pencil to make that feasible, which is a really cool, interesting way to use that mechanic.
Yeah, this was actually both of our number 1. So it wasn't number 1 by combination. We both picked it as the best of the year. And it is very kind of multiplayer solitaire because there is no player interaction.
None.
But we love it. And so the turn starts and you each collect your workers, and then that's it. You're silent as you are exchanging your workers to color in your boxes, and coloring in those boxes get you more workers, and you're almost trying to extend your turn for as long as possible.
Yeah, it really is though. Like if you want interaction, this is not your game. Because it really is. You get your things, your head goes down, and you're just working on your own paper. There is no sharing, there's no looking at the other person, and there's no reason to. I think there's like one action that you can take where you have to give the other person, and we never do it.
Yeah.
So it just does not come up. But just it's just so like combo-rific. Like just the combos and the trying to figure out your engine, and you go down these paths that you weren't sure you were going to go because every turn you get 2 cards, and one of them's one of your end game goals, and one of them's extra resources.
I think that's one of the interesting things about it is we've played this a number of times, and there's still some paths that I have yet to even try. Yeah. And so I usually kind of stick with what I'm comfortable with. But because of that scoring system, it does force you. And I'm really looking forward to playing this more and actually seeing what like the gladiators are about. I haven't given them a proper go yet, and what scouting's about, what some sheets that I have been left untouched thus far are.
Yeah, no, it really is. I highly recommend, and especially if you want something that you're all doing at the same time, and it's really simple to explain, but it's the heaviest roll and write that I've played. I think it's the heaviest roll and write out there that I know of,
Yeah.
And it's easy to learn, but oh boy, there's a lot. There's a lot of decisions in here and a lot of paths to take.
And so our top game for 2021 that we've played so far is Hadrian's Wall.
And yeah, thank you so much for checking this out. And it is important that we said that we played so far. And I think we're probably going to do a thing next year where we'll look back and see this year. Because we're going to do a video coming up soon looking back at 2020. And we didn't do a top 10 for 2020. But we feel like now that we've played everything for a full year, we really know those games.
Yeah.
And so I think we'll look back and it'll be interesting to see
how much is still in there based on any new ones that we've played.
Yeah, or do some of the ones that just missed sneak their way up. Ark Nova and Boon Lake that we're super excited to finally try. I think, and there's always some that we didn't even know about.
Yeah.
Like 2020 Beyond the Sun, we got way later. And that we were just like, how did we not know about this? This knocked our socks off.
Yeah. So really looking forward to trying those out for sure. But I think that brings us close to the end. So please like, subscribe. All of that really helps us out. And hopefully we'll see you next time.